And before, I as the minister or the Prime Minister should intervene in this particular issue, which has come to my light fairly recently, we should find out exactly what the issue is. As all of you know, the RCMP has been undergoing some pretty dramatic changes as a result of a number of inquiries. I don't know if any of the occurrences or the stresses are related to that, and that's why I'm going to wait until the workplace assessment comes out.
Well, that's how Public Safety Minister Vic Taves plans to deal with what some are calling mutiny inside the RCMP. Is a review the best way to deal with the National Police Force's latest scandal, or could this be the final crack that crumbles the institution? Let's see what our power panel thinks. Joining us from Vancouver is Marcella Monroe of Earnscliffe Strategy Group, and look, right here in Ottawa, Jaime Watt of Navigator Limited, because he's never here. Okay, let's start with you, Jaime. What do you think of the government's approach to just do a review inside and see if there's anything to this? They must know there's something to it.
This gives new meaning to the Mountie always gets their man, but this time it was the executive committee of the force. I mean, I don't really know what to think quite yet. I mean, on the one hand, obviously something is terribly wrong. You've got an organization that has the chain of command and adherence to the chain of command and respect for the chain of command in their DNA, and all of a sudden those people are going outside of it. So obviously something is going wrong. I mean, it's unbelievable in 2010, if the reports are true, we don't know, that people are screaming and yelling and throwing things and have to be sent off to some crazy California place for some anger management thing. I mean, this is just not heard of in the real world in a CEO position. So that's probably something that's pretty troubling. The second thing that's kind of worrisome, though, is that so what? The organization's going through change. So what? It's going through stress. There isn't a major organization in Canada that has done that, and there's other much more sensible ways to deal with it than what we're seeing. So I think someone's got to get in there and figure this out quite soon. It's kind of odd, though. This RCMP has a Kumbaya specialist, a workplace, whatever these people are, coming in to do a job that should have been done internally a long time ago.
Marcella, what do you think?
Well, I think, Mr. Elliott, if he's got some rough edges, I don't think that would surprise anyone who's ever known anyone in law enforcement. These are tough positions. He came to the RCMP from outside, true enough. But, it's a tough organization, and it's tough from the ground up. So he was taken in there to rattle some cages. I think that the narrative that's going to come out of this, and the government, Minister Taves kind of alluded to it there in his statement, this organization needs to change. I think the overwhelming majority of Canadians believe this is true. I think that the yelling that might be going on inside those hallways is nothing compared to some of the outrage and sort of mystification Canadians have when you see the Bradenwood inquiry about the taser incident with Robert Jasansky, when you think about what happened with Air India and how long that was kind of boggled up by the RCMP. So, I'm not sure that, I heard what the opposition said today. I mean, I would be very cautious if I were them. I think that the RCMP does need to be shook up. I think that a lot of Canadians believe this to be true, and I'm not sure the majority of Canadians would be that bothered to think that perhaps Mr. Elliott was making folks uncomfortable. So I think that the government on this one, I mean, not usually my point of view, but I think the government on this one's quite right to sort of take a moment and try to figure out what exactly is going on.
Yeah, I guess there's a difference between shaking things up, though, and the allegations that are out there. And I guess that's what we're trying to figure out is how far they are and whether that's acceptable. In the meantime, I wanted to tell you that Alison Crawford has received a memo that went out from the senior executive today. And they say, and I think we have a little bit of it that we can show everybody, that as with any family, there are occasions where we have difficulties, and by working together as a team, the senior leadership of the force intends to address the challenges we face. So I guess not surprising that they are trying to say, listen, we all work together, but this is a growing pain, if you will. It just seems like a long growing pain for the RCMP.
Well, I mean, the Queen a few years ago said she had an annus horribilis. I don't know what a decadus horribilis is, but I mean, this has been going on for a long time. And I just take a slightly different perspective on this kind of behavior, because I think if there really is this kind of behavior, it's actually symptomatic of an organization-wide behavior issue. It's no wonder things are covered up and not escalated up the chain. It's no wonder some of the problems we've been seeing are taking place throughout an organization if that's the behavior that's endemic in the executive suite. You lead by example, a fish rots from the head, and if that's what's happening upstairs, then it's no wonder people are scurrying about and not willing to put up their hand and said, we made a mistake here that we've got to make it right, if the response to that is yelling and screaming and things being thrown at them. I agree we have to wait and see,
Well, yeah.
but that is
Sure.
not acceptable behavior. There are organizations
Sure.
right across this country under stress, and people do not
Jaime.
behave this way.
Yeah. Marcella?
Jamie, if I just get a word, I mean, I think that's fair enough. I think there's a sort of glass half empty way to look at this as well, though. I think there are lots of organizations under stress where senior management might, feel pushed to having a hissy fit or yelling and screaming. Sometimes you don't hear about that because they're able to keep it in-house. I think one of the interesting things about this is we do hear about it. It does get into the press. Now the RCMP has a statement basically saying, oh, it's all in the family, don't worry about it. Well, there are some people there, and there were some people there, it goes to my earlier point, that think that having a quote-unquote outsider come in to help them reconfigure was a mistake. In some ways, parts of the RCMP are a secret society. It is, it is a kind of club. It is part of the reason their lack of transparency, their lack of thinking that they have to be accountable is part of the reason that there needs to be change going on there. So if you see what I'm saying, there could be two ways to look at it. Yes, it could be inappropriate behavior, or it could be a sign of malaise among some of the people who basically don't think that anyone else has the ability to look around, and it's none of their business.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, and I think the people that leaked this knew exactly what they were doing.
Sure.
The people that wrote this letter knew exactly the consequences of what they're doing. These weren't amateurs who they got caught by surprise and all of a sudden this was front page news and that we'd be talking about it on television. So I do agree that we got to be a bit cautious about that, because that was somebody.
There are motivations there.
There may well be motivations that we don't see right now.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Do you think that the link has been broken now, regardless of what they're saying, their kumbaya moment, as you say, regardless of what they go in and find, is it too late? Has the link of confidence between the chain of command and their boss now been broken? And in terms of public perception, are there issues there too now?
Well, if it's confidence, confidence can be restored. If it's trust, once broken, trust can't be restored. And I don't know how you said, as part of an executive team, the people that signed that note that you just read, they sit around a table as a team. And one of the most important things of being a team is being able to trust each other. You're going to go through that firewall of change together. You better know that everyone's got your back and you're going to keep going. Once that's gone, I don't know how you get trust back. Confidence can be rebuilt over time, trust much harder. And it would sure look, if I was Elliot, I'd say, I'm not sure I've got the tools I need to lead anymore.
And two of the guys that allegedly made these complaints are part of this memo. Right. So, I mean, I don't know how they can say one thing and then sign on to the memo the next day. Marcella, what do you think?
I just think we need to keep I think we and also the government and even the RCMP, I guess the telling, and I don't disagree with what Jamie just said, and I think the telling part of this will be if they can sort of regroup and talk about the real confidence issue here, because to me the real confidence issue here is whether the Canadian public still has confidence in the RCMP or not. And unless, the powers that be within the RCMP can regroup and refocus on that is their main challenge right now. This press release is kind of typical weird RCMP speak. In a moment where there's crisis, they kind of tell everyone to look the other way. I mean, these are the kind of issues that need to be addressed, and I think that whether it's Mr. Elliott or some of the other senior leadership or eventually the government, when they figure out what's going on here, we just need to be, as Canadians, I think, reassured that it's confidence in the RCMP that's going to be rebuilt.
So he doesn't have to be fired or anything yet? No,
but I think Mitchell makes a very good point, right, is do we actually, after all these problems that we've had, do we have a structural problem with the RCMP? Do we have a structural problem with the RCMP providing various levels of policing service? It's clear in a country like Canada, we do need a national police force. There's certain things, counterterrorism, drugs, whatever, that need to be dealt with that level. But maybe one of the problems is we got them doing too many jobs, and maybe that's confusing the organization. And when you see a big organization making mistake after mistake after mistake, being humiliated in public, and then seem not to be able to recover from it, at some point you got to say, this isn't about people, this is about structure. Lousy job performance is often lousy job design, and maybe that's what we're seeing here. So maybe the government's got a bigger problem on its hands than just whether or not it ought to replace Elliott and whether it ought to replace him with a civilian or another career thing. Maybe something bigger is at work here. Okay. We don't know.
Okay, I got to leave it there. That was a very good analysis. Thank you both. I appreciate it. Marcella Monroe is with Earnscliffe Strategy Group in Vancouver, and Jamie Watt right here with Navigator Limited. Thank you both.